couple of years ago, someone posed a question to me, and that question was, Ronnell, would you want your daughter to work in this industry? Got to be honest with you. I had to really think about that. I had concerns. I still do. But I have to tell you something. After talking to and listening to today's guest, man, I feel better than I've ever felt about the future and the opportunity for youth in the channel. On today's episode, I invited Adam Basa and Lynne Zimmerman of Young Channel Leaders. They've created an organization to nurture, to educate, and build community amongst the younger group of professionals in the technology channel. In this episode, we get into not only why it's important that we start to develop talent, but we talk about some of the gaps that currently exist that are holding us back from taking advantage of this great potential resource of young, talented, ambitious people. So if you're looking for a playbook on what to do and some tips on maybe what you shouldn't do, this episode is for you. All right, with that said, it's time to get this party started. Let's get it going.
Here to show up and show out. 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 Yeah.
Welcome to Shut the Hell Up and Sell, Unfiltered, the podcast that's not afraid to tackle the uncomfortable truths and bad habits that keep you from reaching your potential. I'm your host, Ronnell Richards, award-winning sales expert, author, and top influencer in technology channel sales. Each week, I sit down with industry influencers and top performers for bold, honest conversations that are designed to cut through the noise and deliver real, actionable advice that you can apply immediately to grow your career and boost your sales success. No fluff, no excuses, just real talk, real influencers, and real results. Let's get into it.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Yeah.
Welcome back to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered. This is the show that's talking about the things that you guys really care about. We're talking about things that maybe they can't talk about on other shows as it relates to channel, the future, the past, the present, what we need to do to be successful, what are the obstacles that are getting in our way, and how we overcome them. So today, I'm really excited because this is slightly a departure from what we've usually done. If you've been watching this show, you know that we bring on some of the biggest movers and shakers in our space. And we're talking about folks that have decades in the game and have helped lay the groundwork for, what we're experiencing today and the trajectory of where we're going in the future. And, we sit down and they have strong opinions and opinions that are vetted, right? Because that's why they're on this show. And we talk about, again, what are some of the challenges? What are we going to do to address these challenges? And I'll admit, it's also part of my own love affair with this business that's been so good to me and others. And I feel this personal responsibility to make sure that we are doing everything we can to carry on the great legacy of those that came before us so that the ones that come next are more successful. And that, my friends, is how I'm going to segue into our guests. Our guests today are Lynne Zimmerman and Adam Basa. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So here's why I'm excited to have you guys, because as we talk about the future, you guys have started an organization that's the first of its kind, because I don't think we've ever actually had young channel people. So the young channel leaders, like you guys, have created an organization to help nurture the next generation of great leaders in this space. And so I wanted to have a conversation with you as you got your finger on the pulse of what's going on with some of the younger generation in our industry. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to know what some of the challenges are. I want to know how we can support. Like, there's so many different directions that I want to go in this thing, and we could potentially go, but I want to start with just giving folks a little bit of understanding of who you are and why you're doing what it is that you're doing. And Lynn, I want to start with you. If you wouldn't mind, just give us a little context on who you are and how you got into this space.
So, Lynne Zimmerman, nice to talk to you guys and be on here. But I fortunately, I think that a lot of people in the channel either get into the channel because of someone they know or have some sort of connection. I, obviously have my brother as a connection. I started in the channel 3 years ago, very short 3 years. It still feels like I'm, drinking from a water hose, but, my place in the channel has been short, and I started because of my brother, who started at TCG, now Teleris, and now I'm at CommandLink, a company I love, and I'm happy to be in the channel. I don't see myself going anywhere else, but it definitely has its trials and tribulations all the time.
Yeah. So, and going ahead and moving over to you, Adam, tell me how you got introduced into this business.
Yeah, I've been around it my entire life. My father, Tim Basa, obviously introduced me to the business, and I've always known it. So I've always been around the advisors and providers, whether it was like listening in on conversations, driving to basketball practice, or doing landscaping at a local TSD.
Yeah,
I've always been around it, so I just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, so that's interesting because a lot of times when our parents are in a certain business, we don't necessarily end up in that business. Like, maybe we push away to try to find something else. Like, what is it about channel? What is it about this industry that has attracted you?
So for me, I started.
That's an Adam question.
Oh,
that's an Adam question. Because specifically, Adam, you're talking about on the way basketball camp or basketball, and that whole journey, and like growing up with this being a backdrop. Like, why did you say? What made you say, "Oh, you know what? I want to do this. And I want to get involved in it."
Yeah, well, the number one thing is I've always liked technology, and certainly it's just like an easy segue to get into. Obviously, the space has evolved drastically from dedicated internet access and SD-WAN and things like that, into now like selling more software tools, especially now with the rise of AI and things like that. It's always been interesting and attractive, especially if I'm not personally a seller of telecommunications. But it's an attractive business if you are a seller to get in and have residual, where you get rewarded over and over again for the good work that you did. So that's a part of the reason why I've always enjoyed it. And I think, one, the business is cool, and two, the people are great. It's very, you kind of know everyone as you grow into the space. Obviously, there's always more and more people joining, but you see a lot of the same faces over and over again, whether they're at the same company or bouncing around, and they turn into like close friends.
Yeah. I think that's what attracts keeps so many people in this business, is the relationships that they build over time, right? And this niche community. I find it so interesting the way that were able to articulate it so succinctly and beautiful in terms of like the industry. Most of us veterans struggle with that. Like, we struggle with telling folks what it is that we do in this business. But clearly, having grown up in it, it's just like, it's an easy explanation for you. So, Lynn, I want to ask you, tell me about a little bit about the journey. So I know that, you got into this through your brother, but at what point did you and Adam get together, and like, what give me your origin story of the founding of this organization that you guys have built?
So it's a unique story. Adam and I were actually at the Talaris party 2 years ago at Channel Partners. And we were having a conversation with Tim, actually. And we were looking around the room, looking around this party, and we're like, where the hell are the young people? Like, everyone in this room is probably 45 plus. You know, we're both new in this space. I think my brother might have walked up in the middle of the conversation, but we're just sitting there talking about how there's no organization for the younger generation to thrive on, have a community, have a safe place to come to grow. And, there has to be young people like, Adam and I I'm 30, he's in his mid 20s. There has to be other young people, but where are they? Are they scared to come to these events because, they don't know anyone, or they don't know how to sign up, or they don't know where the link is? Like, where are they? But we know they're here. We see them walking around. So why aren't they here at this Talaris event? And how are we going to capitalize on finding them? And so, from that moment, I was very serious. I think Adam was very serious too. So we had known each other, but not like on a, close and personal friendship level. It was like a hi, what's up? Good to see you kind of thing. But we both reached out to each other and we're like, hey, like I'm serious, you're serious. Like, let's see what we can do with this thing. And, that week we jumped back and forth of names, creating an LLC, then creating a nonprofit, and now scaling to a board. But that's really the inception of it, was a, small conversation that was had at a Talaris party 2 years ago. And here we are.
Wow. So Adam, what's the motivation? Like, why? Is it just so that we can get together and party, or what's the motivation behind building this organization?
No, well, the biggest motivation is connecting young people together, whether it's through like Lynne and I got together, whether it's through get-togethers or education sessions, because it's difficult to find other young people, especially online in the space, because maybe you see them on LinkedIn, but you may never reach out because it just feels awkward. Mm-hmm. But especially at events and in person, like, you never, unless you're crossing paths, everyone's on their own mission, especially at events or for example, Channel Partners that is coming up. Everyone has a thing that they have to go do. And you're never really given an opportunity to go and meet other people that may be in a similar position as you, or maybe in a position that you want to be in at some point during your career. And we want to be able to provide an opportunity to people to have that.
Yeah. Well, Lynne, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think that we are in a place where, in a community of people, there's so, like, when I go to Channel Partners, I have multiple meetings. I have, set meetings, set times. And then you go to these events and, you're as a channel manager, you might be targeting, advisors that you want to meet there, people you want to connect with. And then other people you might not ever meet them or see them, or, even ever come about them. And, Young Channel Leaders has scaled now to over 250 members that I don't think I would have ever even known existed in this space, let alone were part of our channel community. And that scales from, advisors to channel managers to marketing people, inside channel managers, engineers, you name it. Like, there's just so many people across the board that, we would have never really capitalized on or met had we not started YCL.
So, Adam, let me ask you, as you guys are out there and you're talking to the community and, you're recruiting for your organization, where are you seeing growth? Like, when we talk about this group of young folks in the industry, where are you guys seeing the most growth? Is it in the TA world, is the supplier world, TSD? Where are most of the numbers coming from?
Obviously, this is like from my experience, from what I've seen, it's a lot from the TA and MSP world. Partly, my belief is that the barrier of entry is lower versus getting into a supplier or provider. Because if you look at like roles that are recruiting for whatever channel manager anywhere inside, they typically require some experience within the industry or prior selling experience, which can turn people off. Versus if it's a kid coming out of college and he knows he wants to get into sales, he can enter into a BDR role pretty fast, especially if he enters into a company that's willing to take a chance on him. So we've seen a lot of that, especially with a lot of recent members, where it's a lot of TAs and MSPs.
Yeah, interesting. So, Lynn, shifting to you real quick, what do you think? Because you came into this thing through the supplier route, and you've been as a channel manager, working with TAs. If someone is just getting into this industry and they're a younger person, what are maybe some of the friction points that you're seeing? What are some of the challenges that newer people getting into our space are that you're observing that they're kind of dealing with?
So I think on a very real and transparent subject, right? If you don't have the word channel almost on your resume, I feel like you are bypassed for a lot of positions that might be in our industry. And that is even speaking from my own experience, right? Even though I had a family member that, brought me into this space, it was almost the answer to me was, well, she has no channel experience. She has no channel experience. She could be the best thing since sliced bread, but she has no channel experience. So I think that hinders a lot of the younger generation from being able to step into this space because they might have had a BDR role, to Adam's point, at a company that isn't within our space. And so they are passed up for, a position within our space because they don't have, channel or whatever it might be. And so I think that that's a very, very tough place to be in, especially as a young person entering the channel.
Oh, that's fire right there. That's fire. And let me tell you why. First of all, advice to my friends and peers and those of you that are launching channel programs. Channel experience is overrated. Yes, you heard me right. It's overrated. Not only is it overrated, dare I say it, it might even be negative. Here's why. We have such a large group of folks that have never been trained. They have bad habits and are overly reliant on marketing experiences and superficial things, and reluctant to do the things that it's going to require to be successful moving forward, like pick up the phone, make calls, send emails, do direct messages. I'm talking about just fundamental sales strategies. And listen, guys, I'm telling you, I have been telling my clients that are interested in channel, in starting channel programs, I'm like, hey, go get someone that's in the direct side of the house that crushes it. BDRs, SDRs that can self-generate, because you can teach them the relationship building, but that self-generating, that sales acumen, that's something that unfortunately our pool is tainted. This is the show for truth. I'm just calling it what it is. We got a lot of people that don't like to do any outreach, and that's not going to help you to grow your program. So, Lynn, I appreciate you sharing that insight, because I couldn't agree with it anymore. So, Adam, as you've seen it from the TSD side of the house, right? Literally growing up in that, what I would really love to hear from you guys' perspective, as I've spoken to so many veteran leaders, but I got to tell you, before I ask you this, when I'm trying to shake up a sales organization, do you know what I do? It's a rhetorical question. I'm going to give you the answer. When I'm trying to shake up a sales organization that I'm either consulting for or one of my own sales organizations in the past, what I do is I hire someone that's young and doesn't know anything. And what I mean by that is they're smart, they're ambitious, but they are not held back by preconceived notions based upon all this history of what they think is possible or probable. And they just bring such great energy, and they usually end up changing the trajectory of the business because they just don't know any better. They don't know that they're not supposed to sell over 20 grand a month. They don't know that, this type of customer isn't supposed to be a good fit. So, what I'd love to ask you, Adam, given what you've seen and given what you've experienced, what do you think the future looks like from your perspective? What is the future of the TA? What does a successful TA, just your opinion, what do you think they look like moving forward, or things that they're involved in, or mindset? Take it wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, especially as the space is evolving really fast, and not just our space, but all industries. Because with the newer tools that are coming out, I don't think there have been no one's really utilizing AI in like a raw way just yet. Like a lot of it is just add-ons to existing platforms. Mm-hmm. So there's not too many companies out there that have like AI is like the backbone of the company, and then they're building around that. And one thing that AI can't replace is the human element to sales or just friendships, talking back and forth, because the whole business is really just doing business with your friends at the end of the day, mm-hmm. and making new ones. And in order to do that, you need a human element, whether it's doing it in person or sending videos to someone being like, hey, I was thinking about you, and yada, yada, yada. I think the future of the TA is going to be more crucial and important than people realize, mm-hmm. because you can't replicate it with artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That said, there are certain things that are going to be leaning into AI, right? Like there's certain ways of buying, like the transactional model, it's going to be more AI. So yeah, folks have to be better at solution selling. They got to be better at consultative selling. And those are some of the skills that I think that have been weaknesses to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, we've got some great consultants in our space, but a lot of technology folks throughout the pandemic have leaned into more of transactional selling and got some bad habits. So, Lynn, I want to ask you, from your perspective, sitting on the carrier and the supplier side of the house, where do you think that suppliers could do a better job? Suppliers and carriers could do a better job at creating an environment where a young professional can come in and be successful? What things do you think they need to be teaching? What do you think their environment should be like? What is their philosophy? Take it anywhere you want to go.
So I can answer that like twofold, right? Because I come from two large corporations. CommandLink is a smaller private company, but also, great company and supplier within the channel. I think that, especially being 30, right? Like, I'm at the forefront of my personal career in my eyes. And so I think that, giving younger people who show the want and the initiative to want to grow, whether that be at the company they're at or potentially scaling to another future position, I think that if they show that they want to, be involved in upper leadership conversations or learn about, maybe another aspect of the business that they're in, or, even just be a fly on the wall in certain leadership calls that might help them scale their career to the future. As a leader, the answer should never be no. Like you've employed this person at your company. You believe that, anything that they hear is going to be okay. They're never going to, take it elsewhere. And so if you have a younger person that's showing that drive and that initiative, be the leader. Let them be a part of let them be, have a seat at the table, let them be in the room, and, guide them to be where you are, today.
I love that. So let's think about that. Let's pause on that for a moment and just really soak that in. Think about channel leaders, channel chiefs. What are we doing to develop people? Are we just trying to bring people in and expecting them to be kind of like the finished product, right? And just hit the ground running, which I think happens a lot. And there's a reason why we have some pretty staggering numbers in terms of attrition, right? And this right now in our space, I think because we try to bring people in hoping that, okay, plug and play, make it happen. And those people are doing the same things that they've always done, which is trying to go after the same agents that they've always spoken to, as opposed to creating onboarding, creating development, creating real opportunities for people where we're training, where we're putting into them and, and helping them to grow in their career. I don't see a lot of career growth right now. Now, I'm hopeful that this is going to change. I think it has to. And it will, but I don't see, Lynn, to your point, I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of people going from this company to that company for the same job, or leveraging a job at this company to get a job at another company at a higher title, and not a lot of companies in our space that are really investing in their employees and their personal and professional development. You gave some great ideas on how they could do that. Anything else that you think would be helpful? In fact, I'm sure, and Adam, let me ask you this. With your organization, how can these folks tie into your organization or work with you guys in ways to maybe either help develop that sort of plan or to get that sort of firsthand information that you're putting out there to help them to be more successful?
Yeah. So when you say these folks, you're talking about like suppliers and providers, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about our suppliers, providers, TSDs, TAs, because I think there's a gap in all areas of the business right now as it relates to developing talent.
Yeah. So especially for developing talent, like we've talked about, there's not a lot of great opportunities for jumping into a role, and no one wants to train people for the most part because that costs money. Like you just talked about, it's best just to hire someone. They already know the role. They've done it before at 3 previous jobs. Mm-hmm. And one thing that that suppliers could help if they wanted to help younger people is to sponsor us and help us provide younger people education sessions, lunch and learns, whether it's on the TA side and the MSP side, just to be able to sharpen their skills. And it also gives them access to be able to talk one-on-one, whether it's in a room setting or one-on-one with them afterwards during an event of ours, to be able to get to know them and potentially recruit from them. Because at the end of the day, everyone wants to get better.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Lynn, what do you think the win? Let's transition this to the business brain. All right. Because I don't trust people to do the right thing. I trust them to do what's in their best interest. Okay. So now that you've kind of laid it out, how they can work with you guys, Lynn, tell me why it's in the best interest of these suppliers, carriers, TSDs to be tapping into the work that you guys are doing and tapping into this potential emerging market of talent.
So I think that there's a lot of emphasis, when it comes to sponsorships and MDF and everything like that in the channel specifically, that comes with a ROI component, right? Like, what am I going to get out of this if I sponsor your organization? Or what are we going to get out of this if we sponsor your organization? And to Adam's point, it simply is that, like, you may not hire the person that you meet at one of our events or that you sponsor, but you've now opened up yourself to a pool of the next generation's talent. And without having access to those people, or you probably wouldn't have access to the pool of people that we have, then you're not going to scale your organization to, grow to its heights with, emerging leaders and younger professionals that are going to take over your position one day and become the next you. So I think that there's like a lot of emphasis on the ROI, maybe right then in the very moment, opposed to thinking about the ROI from 5, 10, 15 years from now that your organization coming to sponsor us and being involved in us might receive.
Okay, so let's get more like today, because here's the reality of our business. The average channel chief tenure, do you guys know how long it is? Not my numbers. These are numbers from my friends over that do all the analytics. 18 months. So
wow.
I'm a channel chief. I got 18 months. So I'd love to think about 5 and 10 years down the road, but tell me how this can impact like now or impact much, much sooner. My involvement, my recruiting, my, working with your organization, bringing in this younger talent. Tell me from you guys' perspective, what you think that impact is. Because again, we got to get to where, to business impact. Because at the end of the day, again, we know that it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, but I don't trust people to do the right thing. I trust them to do the right thing for them. So why is this the right thing for that channel chief to invest in someone like you, like the both of you? Lynn, I'm asking you first.
So on that aspect of like doing the right thing, I think that a lot of channel chiefs are brought on to be a channel chief to help scale their organization. And I think that, scaling with young talent definitely helps. You open up the can of worms to that young talent and you provide, a stepping stone to the next generation. Whether you're at that company, you are helping build an organization while you're there. And maybe when you step on to the next organization you move to, because the retention of a channel chief is so low, you can take everything that you just built and maybe move it on to the next channel or organization that you become the chief of, and you've gotten your ROI at your previous company you were at, and you've seen what we can do and what we bring to the table as far as the talent we bring, the education we bring, and everything like that, as far as mentorship and job boards and all things like that. And now you know that it works and you bring it where you go next.
Nice. Adam, anything to add to that?
I would say that, like you mentioned earlier, about sometimes it's best to almost recruit outside the channel. And I think that does kind of hold true for, especially for certain organizations, where if they just keep picking, channel chiefs or other members from just different organizations that have done the same job over and over again, they'll get a lot of the same ideas. Mm-hmm. And they'll never get a new voice or a new opinion in there of like, well, we've been doing it this way for 10, 20 years. What if we did it this way? And if you never like invite someone like that into your organization, you'll remain the same. And then eventually you'll just kind of die out or get bought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to share a story with you all. Okay. And I'm going to call this story Jeff Cutler. Shout out to Jeff Cutler. Jeff, if you're watching this or see this. So Jeff Cutler was my first sales manager. And when Jeff, I can remember the day, me and my colleague, Michael Nielsen, that we found out that Jeff Cutler was leaving. He had got another job. And Michael and I said, it feels like our parents are getting divorced. This was how we felt. This was the emotion in the moment. And here's what I want to tell you guys about this and why this is important. 2 reasons. One, that's the sort of emotional connection and love that we had for Jeff. And part of that was because we didn't know any better. We're very young 20-somethings, and like we hadn't had 10 sales managers before. We had Jeff, right? And so that love, we were willing to go to battle for Jeff, run through walls for Jeff, all right? So that level of commitment that we had to him because he was committing to us at such a young age meant a lot. Second thing, that same job, when I started that job, and this was for those that do not know, I started my career in the jewelry industry. It's in the book. Check it out. Shut the hell up and sell. And again, Jeff, my first sales manager. When I got that job, Jeff had hired me. And after a first month of learning what the heck it was that I was doing, I rattled off something like 8 or 9 months of top salesperson and ranking top 25 in a company where that store that I worked in was the very worst performing store. Okay. Out of like 23, 24 stores, they were the worst performing. And all of a sudden I'm a top 25 salesperson in the company. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that it was the worst store. I didn't know that I was supposed to be shitty because I was in the worst store. I didn't know that. I just knew that I got an opportunity and I'm going to crush it with my activity. And that's what I did. So where I say that we're in some ways overvaluing some of this experience matters, but so does activity. So does ambition. So does aspiration. So does desire. And so I think that we need more of you all that have that ambition, that have that aspiration, that have that desire, and you're not held back by your previous experiences. Now, there is a space for everyone. And what I like to say is that we have to make sure that we have that balance. There's that space for the gray-haired guy who's got 30 years of experience, because y'all need him. But he needs you just as much. He needs you because you're bringing fresh thought. Like Adam, like you said, diversity of thought. So I think that there's clearly a balance that needs to happen and an investment that needs to happen that is not happening today. Just period, point blank. I don't know one program that is seriously investing in young people and the development of young people. I've been in this business for quite some time. One of the companies that has been very successful in telecom and technology, if you go back over the last, 100 years, they're the most successful, is who? The Death Star, AT&T. AT&T had a program, and they continue to this day, which it's not exactly the same as it was, but their college hire program. And that's how so many people in their organization came into sales, worked their way up, worked and got into marketing, got into operations, whatever, through that. So that's something for folks to think about. They did that extremely well. It's been proven. So how many others could do that? Now, here's what I will say. Here's my plug for you guys. You're building that. You're building a version of the college hire program in the sense that you're building a community where all these young channel professionals can come to. And so suppliers, TSDs, carriers, through affiliation, through work with your organization, can tap into that talent. So as we're kind of wrapping this up, I'd love to hear from you guys. What's the best way that we'll start with the suppliers, the TSDs, the folks that are hiring, the movers and shakers? What's the best way for them to get involved in your organization? And Adam, I'm going to ask you that question.
Yeah, so the best way, sorry if there's someone's vacuuming above me. The best way to get involved would, of course, to contact Lynne and I or our sponsorship team to get more information to get involved. Because we're always looking, we want to expand and be the go-to place and group for young people whether you're switching jobs in the channel or you're coming straight out of college. And we want to be able to be the first stop that you make. Yeah. The goal of the organization is to be able to get young people together and have new ideas flow throughout the channel. Mm-hmm. And with sponsorship from TSDs or suppliers is the only way that we can really push that. And we can expand our growth because, for example, like you talked about, your first sales manager was almost kind of a mentor as well. And to start that relationship with a new college kid, how else are you going to, it's very difficult to find them unless you're recruiting directly out of college. Yeah. But you might be able to pick up a BDR kid that's working at some business outside of the platform, mm-hmm. Outside of the channel, but they attend one of our events or they attend a lunch and learn, and then you can make that connection there, and then you can have a super loyal and wicked smart employee for the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah, love that, Lynne. Let's shift. you're talking to the would-be members. Like, why is it they need to be? It shouldn't be like an option. Why they need to be part of the organization that you guys are growing.
I think that, we scale from our members base is under 40, right? And that's a huge range, right? That's fresh out of college to 40 years old. I mean, there's a 2-decade age gap just about within that. So within our community, you could be talking to someone who could be your future boss one day. You'd be talking to someone who might be one of your top selling advisors in your book one day. You could be talking to someone who's actually your colleague one day, or someone that you just create as a friend within the community to have a safe space to talk, share like-minded things with, and just collaborate, communicate, and grow. So I think that as a young person entering the channel, entering our community and being a part of our community fosters that kind of, setting for you to have, and to not be so scared to maybe go to these events or strike up a conversation with someone, or maybe someone in our community works somewhere and you're like, hey, can you put in a good word for me? Whereas you might not know those people otherwise. So I think that coming into our community and getting to know the people that are going to be, your colleagues or your friends down the road is super important.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll leave them with one more thing. I'm assuming that most of you all that are watching this, listening to this, however you're consuming it, you want to be successful. You want to win. Success and winning is lonely. Trust me, I've done my fair share of winning. It is lonely, and it is hard if you don't have a community. It's that much harder. So like having people that you can relate to, that you can connect with, that where you can share experiences, and a safe place, that in itself, forget the networking, forget all the other potential benefits. Just having that in itself, when you're dealing with the difficulties and obstacles and the things that you have to overcome to on that path to success, having an Adam that you can talk to, having a Lynne that you can talk to, that can connect and relate, that in itself, man, so valuable. So, hey, if you're out there and you're looking for a group and you check the boxes, make sure that you reach out and connect with these guys. What's the web address, Adam?
It's youngchannelleaders.com.
youngchannelleaders.com. Pretty easy. All right. Hey, thank you both for joining me. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate your honesty and allowing me to make you a little bit vulnerable. I appreciate that. And I hope that your authenticity, your honesty, and a little bit of vulnerability connects you with folks that are out there that need to and should be part of your community. Again, youngchannelleaders.com. As we close on this thing, again, thank you guys for joining us. But most importantly, for those of you that have gifted us your time, okay, watching this, listening to it, however you've consumed this, you mean the world to me and us on this platform, and you are the reason that I do this. I could do a lot of other shows, but we focus on this community because I know that we can make an impact. But we make an impact because you guys are gifting us your time, and I appreciate that. Let's make sure that if you found something helpful from this, you share it with others. Like, comment, share. All of those activities in this algorithm world make a difference. But again, as I've said in previous episodes, we're not trying to win any popularity contests. We're trying to create great content that impacts a very specific audience. And if you've watched this to the end, that's you. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your whatever, and we will see you the next time on Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the show. For more resources, including gap assessments, custom sales consulting, or online courses designed to take your sales game to the next level, visit me at RonnellRichards.com or head over to sayless.academy. Until next time, remember, stop talking, start listening, and shut the hell up and sell.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out.